Welcome to the FCICA webinar series. Thank you for joining us. This webinar will be recorded. The recorded session will be housed on the FCICA Member Center and this educational portal. Mark your calendars for these upcoming webinars. Thursday, March 18, join us for Person Everyone Dreads, the Floor Covering Inspector, presented by David Seelan, Principal and Founder of ISE Logic. On Thursday, March 25, join us for Commercial Flooring Installation, Fastening for the Future, presented by David Darche, National Market Manager, Adhesives A&D with Bona US. And on Thursday, April 8, join us for Protection on a Roll, Crack Isolation and Sound Reduction Membrane, presented by Sonia Most, Product Manager with MAPI. Visit FCICA.com to view and register for these webinars. FCICA has recently updated the safety book, Start with Safety. It is available electronically, free to members, and printed versions are available for $185. The safety book is an essential item to have in your office and on every job site. Purchase it on FCICA's website today. Thank you for joining us for Innovative Solutions for Subfloor Prep and Repair. We are pleased to introduce our presenter, Heather Rice, Director of Commercial Sales, Midwest Division for Maxxon Corporation. Heather has almost 20 years of experience in the floor preparation and moisture mitigation industry. During her career, she has worked for both major flooring contractors and floor prep manufacturers. Heather's vast knowledge of portand, hydraulic and gypsum cements, sound and fire ratings, as well as different moisture mitigation options, positions her as an authority on the multiple issues affecting subflooring. Heather is a certified concrete moisture testing technician with the International Concrete Repair Institute. If you have questions during the presentation, please enter them in the Q&A section during the presentation, and we'll address your questions after the presentation. So with that, welcome, Heather. We're excited to have you. I'm going to turn the controls over to you.
Thanks, Christine. Hope everybody's doing well. We're going to go ahead and get started on this presentation on some subfloor solutions and some different issues with repair. All right, so go ahead and get moving here. All right, so first off, we're going to talk about who is Maxxon, and we're going to talk about the renovation system that Maxxon has established. We're going to go a little bit into moisture mitigation, into low density fill options, some different commercial applications, and at the end, we're going to go ahead and go through some questions. So first off, who is Maxxon? So Maxxon actually are the pioneers of the gypcrete industry. So it was founded in 1972, and they came out with some gypsum underlayment technologies and sound control solutions. In recent years, we have decided to expand the focus into commercial solutions, as the gypsum underlayments and sound control solutions were used mostly in multifamily situations. So we're going to go through some of the different things that Maxxon's developed. So first off, newer to the Maxxon side is the renovation easy system. So the easy system is all about fixing your floors permanently and fast, doing it the right way, and being able to keep the UL rating in the process. So some traditional correction methods that we would see on different multifamily areas would be, they would have a huge issue in multifamily with the old gypsum, and they would remove and replace it. As you can imagine, it's extremely labor intensive. It's very time intensive. And it was really hard to replace in a very quick manner. The other method would be that people would just go ahead and put a Band-Aid on it, and they would go in and patch and repair, and they would just have to continually repeat this process over and over again every single time they had an issue. The other issue with this is they were usually patching and repairing with products that did not fall into that UL rating that that floor had from the get-go. So some different ways that you can fix these types of situations that are going to be different with the easy system would be that you would go in and say you had dusty old gypsum. You could go in and use this Fortify primer, Maxxon's Fortify primer. It would be like giving it a new surface to bond to. So it is a single component primer, and it does outperform other acrylic primers because it has a densification property to it. So if you do a Tabor test on just regular gypsum, so we created regular gypsum and then we did the Tabor test on it, which is when you're rubbing something on it over and over again, a lot of mass gets lost when you're doing the Tabor system on just natural old gypsum. When we put a competitive primer on it, the amount of loss was a lot less because it was starting to, protect that gypsum a little bit. But the Fortify primer was considerably less than either of the other two in the Tabor situation. And I apologize because it's very hard for me to see the slides because my glasses need to be re-upped with age. So then after you do the Fortify, which is going to densify and then also act as a primer, you would go into the Maxxon Easy underlayment system. So there's a couple different products you could use for that. But the two that we have that are pre-sanded bag systems, that in the past, this was not available to flooring contractors. This was generally done through applicators using gypsum concentrate underlayment. Now we've actually made pre-sanded bags so that actually flooring contractors can do this work themselves, and they're able to get the product, install it, and be able to maintain that UL fire-rated surface for their customer. So either one of the two underlayments that are pre-sanded would work in this situation. Maxxon is listed in more than 140 common multifamily UL fire designs. We actually by far have more, we are in more UL fire designs than any other competitor out there on the market. So one of the products that we would use if you were doing a thin pour would be the Maxxon Level Easy system. The Level Easy is a pre-sanded 50-pound bag. It levels at 1/4 inch. It is low or no prep. Low or no prep meaning you basically just have to make sure the floor is clean. You don't want anything loose on the floor, and then you can prime it and go over it. You can prime and go over just about anything that you could possibly think of. It will go over existing VAT, VCT. You can go over certain adhesives. And it just gives you some versatility of not having to go in and shot blast or grind a floor and get down to that bare floor before you can prep over it. The other beauty is it still meets that UL fire rating. Then we have the Gypcrete Easy system, which is just another pre-sanded 50-pound product. This is more for deeper fill situations. So, when you get a situation where you have like giant holes in the old gypsum underlayment, it's really hard to figure out the best way to fix that without having either it crack around the edges or different issues like that. This actual system can pour in. You'll be able to walk on it within a couple hours, no problem. It'll be ready for floor covering in 3 to 5 days. If it's at 1/2 inch, realizing that that is probably a longer amount of time than many people want to wait, but it does keep that UL fire rating, and it is an economical solution. If you needed something to dry quicker, you could use the product that I showed you previously, the Level Easy, and that would be a faster product for you. And then this is the other hot topic that seems to be coming around the bend for us now is people that are having sound complaints, even after, years have gone by where they have they have their old gypsum down and their flooring down, and now they're changing from carpet to other types of finishes. The Acoustatop system is a sound control mat that can either go underneath the underlayment or over the underlayment. It could be loose laid over the underlayment. So if you're using loose lay flooring, you could loose lay the Acoustatop as well and not actually glue it down to the system. It is IBC compliant, and it will provide some extra points on those IIC ratings. So the biggest complaint that Yelpers make or that you'll hear if you're reading reviews about hotels or any kind of multifamily rentals, things like that, is always going to be sound. So sound is going to make or break an establishment. So if somebody wants to immediately increase their reviews and their ratings, a sound control mat would be a good consideration for them for rental properties. It would give them the ability to, it would give them the ability to be able to either rent at a higher rate or just increase the reviews to being more positive reviews, which would then increase their ability to have more rental units rented. UL design requirements. So the International Building Code requirements are all covered under Maxxon. We go through with the STC ratings and the IIC ratings. We lab test. We do lots of field testing ourselves for customers, or we'll get third-party people to come in and do the testing as well if they would like that. In the field testing, we did one in Minneapolis, and this just kind of gives you an idea of what you can gain in those IIC ratings. And the IIC rating, for those of you that are slightly unfamiliar with it, is that impact rating. The STC rating is the sound transmission. It's like the sound you hear of, like, people talking. The IIC rating is like the clicking on the floor. So if like someone is walking in a heel or something like that, that clicking sound is that IIC sound. So in Minneapolis, we did this test, and you can see that bare concrete was in the 30s for the IIC rating. And then when you added LVT to that assembly system, you got up into the 40s. And then when you added Acoustatap to that system, we were able to get them up over 50, which most buildings want to be above 50 for their STC and their IIC ratings. So you can see it's a way to get you up over that point if it's something that you needed to do on a renovation. So there's a good time comparison with this as well, too. If you were doing the Maxxon Easy system, it would significantly shorten the lifetime to permanently fix floors. If you're just doing a patch and repair, and you're just going to, you're resigned to doing that every single time, in that situation, it's going to be close to the same amount of time for fixing. But that's not a permanent fix. The Easy system, you're not going to be doing a whole lot more subfloor prep wise for probably 4 or 5 floor changes after that initial time that you did it. And then if you have to remove and install the gypsum, again, you're looking at like a 10-day scenario. So some of the benefits of the Easy system is the UL rating, the IBC sound code compliance, compatible with gypsum and lightweight concrete. It's important to note, when you have gypsum underlayment already down, the best thing you can put on it is really more gypsum. Gypsum is fine to put over concrete as well, and to put over other floors, because gypsum doesn't have that tensile pull that concrete has, that typical Portland hydraulic cements have, where when they dry, they shrink. When they shrink, they kind of pull up at the floor. Gypsum underlayment is not going to do that. So it does make perfect sense to put a gypsum leveler over gypsum underlayment so that you have some more compatibility. But you can also put that gypsum over a concrete base if you needed to, too. That was a floor that was kind of contaminated with glues and different things that you couldn't put typical cement base over the top of. You can fix underlayments with the Easy system easily, fast return to service, and a good ROI for somebody that is using rental units and constantly need to have those filled. All right, so we're going to get a little bit into moisture mitigation, and we're only going to kind of go into one aspect of moisture mitigation, and that is these one component systems that have been rapidly flooding into the market over the last few years. Something to note about the MVP1 primer, which is Maxxon's single component solution for moisture mitigation, is that it meets all of the standards that are in the F3010. The F3010 talks about 2-part epoxy. So it doesn't exactly meet that, because that standard needs to be changed a little bit now that all of these other 1-part products are making it in. But the important things to note is that the MVP1 primer will still go to 100% relative humidity. It has a 0.1 perm rating when it's measured by the E96 test, which is the test that measures the perm rating, which is one of the most important things to know that you have a good moisture barrier down, is to be able to hit that perm rating. So just a couple things to note about that. It's easy to apply. It is a roller applied system that goes 2 coats onto a concrete slab. The slab does need to be clean. The difference with it is that it does not require a surface profile. It does need to be clean. It does need to be porous. You do want the product to be able to drive into the concrete slab. So you do need to have that porosity to it, but it doesn't have to have a typical concrete surface profile of a 3 to 5 or 2 to 5, like you would see with the typical 2-part epoxies that are on the market. The other beautiful thing about this is you do a 2-coat system, but that second coat acts as the primer for your underlayment or your patch. So you could go ahead and put patch or underlayment over the top of this system within an hour after you do that second coat. So it's a really great time-saving product in that regard. And the best part about it too is that you could put the lid back on that if you don't use it all and use it on the next job. So there's no waste, which is nice. This is just talking a little bit more about what I've kind of already gone through here. You don't have any of that smell and odor too, which is kind of a big deal when you're in an occupied space. Nobody wants to smell epoxy. I personally am allergic to epoxy, so I can't even be around 2-part epoxies anymore. And then not having to have somebody go in and actually like aggressively mechanically shot blast or grind the floor is also good too, especially in, again, those environments where it's occupied and you can't get all those different things in there. This kind of just is a chart to kind of show you like the differences and similarities between MVP 1 primer and then typical 2-component epoxies. There's nothing wrong with 2-component epoxies. They were the best solution on the market. And in a lot of cases, people would still swear that this is the best possible solution. Over time, things change, just like testing has changed over time. Going from calcium chloride to relative humidity testing, so too have the products used to fix moisture issues. So a lot of people are moving away from the 2-component epoxies to the 1-component systems because these 1-component systems now can hit that 100% relative humidity and are able to go up to 25 pounds on the calcium chloride test. So it's user-friendly, easier to use, less smell, and there's a lot of benefits to going to a 1-component system. Another pretty cool product that Maxxon has for solutions is if you've ever had that project that needs 2 inches of some sort of fill, but does not have the ability to physically hold that type of weight. Maxxon has a product called Level Right LDF. It is a low density, lightweight fill product made with Portland and a proprietary blend of what I call these little tiny beads. It basically gives it a lot of lightweight mass. So you can go super thick, but a 1x1 cube would weigh 28 to 32 pounds per cubic foot. Whereas that same size in say cement would be closer to like 120, 130 pounds. Gypsum would be closer to like 100, 110 pounds. So you can see there's a significant difference in the weight, and that difference in the weight makes it very user-friendly for situations where weight is definitely a constraint on a project. It also has thermal properties. Originally, it got used a lot on rooftops where they were trying to fill in rooftop areas. It does have to be capped. So it's not something that you would leave. You wouldn't even want to leave it. It's hard to get it smooth, but you can slope it. You can shape it the way you want it. And then you could put a nice coat of whatever you want to put over the top of it. Most people would put 3/4 of an inch cap over the top of this system. Just to give you an idea, if someone was using EPS or foam board, they would have to do 1.5 inches over the top of it. So you can considerably reduce your height. The other beauty of it is you put it down and the next day you can cap it. So you don't have to wait days and days and days. So if you need to do a thick pour and it's got to be thick, and gypsum's a better solution for you, you could do something like this and then cap it with like the level easy, and you could cut down your dry time by a couple weeks as opposed to using, 2 inches of gypsum. Then we have the Gyp Fix Easy Patch. This comes in a 25-pound bag, super economical patch. Actually feels really nice on the trowel. It is a fire rated patch, so it's perfect to use in those buildings that do want to continue to maintain their fire rating, but they just need a patch or a skim. Great for like anywhere where you're doing like hospitality or senior living, where you've already got a gypsum floor and you just want to smooth out the floor. You do not need to use primer with that. When they originally did this presentation, they were calling for primer, and my fault, I did not notice it until just yesterday that it was still in there. And by that point, I couldn't quite fix it. So, but it doesn't, you need to, and most people know what that means. If you thought the floor was really dusty, you're going to have an exceptional bond issue, then that is where you would use primer. This can go, it's nice product to try. And we're going to show you something at the end for free if you'd like to. Some different commercial applications. So if you've got those situations in different commercial buildings, or they're trying to white box a space or different things like that, we have these different solutions that are not going to require shot blasting and going in and doing a lot of surface prep. They're easy to use. We've got the lightweight product. We've got things to help with sound attenuation. We also have the ability to take the Level Easy and put the fortified primer that we use to densify gypsum over the top of the Level Easy, and you can use that as a wear surface. That is something that a lot of people have requested as of recently, and especially in like hallways, corridors, or even if they're just using like a back of the house room that they want to seal, they want it to be level and seal it. That's a good solution for that. So we can take your renovations from, old adhesive, glue, whatnot, over to the slide on the right. And the different solutions that I went over already was the low density fill and the Gypcrete Easy, the Level Easy, the Fortify primer, which again, that can be used as a wear surface or to densify a dusty gypsum slab. Then there's the Easy Patch, and then we've got the Acoustic-Top, the sound control mat, which also can be over or under leveler. Now, if you put it underneath the leveler, then it is a permanent solution for whoever is requiring it or requesting it. If you put it over and you have to glue it down, it is not going to be a permanent solution if you patch and do things over the top of that. We went through this, but just for the one point that I didn't really get too much involved with is the 4,500 PSI strength of the Level Easy. So when people say that gypsums can't be strong, they 100% can be strong. This particular product, again, is for a thin. This product is also available through certain distributors. And if I can't find a distributor in your area, we'll make sure we find a way to get it to you. But it is definitely a really viable option for those projects where you can go thin and you need it to be fast and you want it to be compatible with gypsum that's already there. Same thing with the Gypcrete Easy. The minimum PSI you're going to get on the Gypcrete Easy is 3,500. The reason we have a minimum there is because some people may or may not add a little bit too much water to this. When you add a lot of extra water to an underlayment, it tends to take away from the PSI a little bit. The beauty with the Maxxon gypsum underlayments is that water ratio, although we have a recommended amount, you're not going to totally ruin the leveler like you would with a Portland or hydraulic cement if you use the wrong water ratio. So just something to keep in mind too. I don't want to say foolproof, but it definitely has some forgiveness to it. We'll put it that way. And then the Acoustic-Top, talking about the different, we talked how it can go directly on the concrete or can go underneath the leveler. And then the patch. So here is the free patch offer. If you email us at info@maxxon.com and you just put free into the subject line, give us your contact information. We will send you a free bag of patch to try out yourself. Again, 25-pound bag. The water ratio, I believe, is 3-to-1. But again, I know that people on a job site are just going to kind of eye that out, and that's okay. It does have a 4,000 PSI strength when you do mix it at that 3-to-1 ratio. And let's see, being from Chicago, I have a tendency to talk really fast. And that is it for the presentation. And then I think, Christine, we could probably open it up to some questions if anybody had any questions.
Absolutely. Let me just review here. Thank you so much, Heather. And again, if people in the audience have questions on the left hand of your screen, please enter your questions into the Q&A box. I'll start with the first question, Heather. Your PSI numbers, how much time after placement does the underlayment reach these strengths?
So it's not like typical, where you have concrete, and concrete reaches a certain strength at 7 days, and then 14 days, and then 28 days. Gypsum is different than concrete. So when gypsum dries, it's dry. It's at its PSI strength. The Level EZ is kind of a hybrid, so it's going to take a little bit longer to hit that PSI number, but it's going to be under the 28 days that typical Portland or hydraulic would take to reach, their number.
Great, thank you. Next question is, can you adhere thin set and tile to the sound mat?
Absolutely. And you can just go directly to it, but you want the sound mat to be bonded.
Okay. Next question is the Maxxon Easy system warranted?
It is. It carries a 5-year warranty, and we can do project-specific warranties if people need longer.
Okay. Next question is, can you pour the Level Easy underlayment directly over tile?
Yes, you can. You just need to prime with our acrylic primer first, and then you could pour directly over ceramic or VCT or VAT or LVT, as long as it's well bonded.
Okay. Next question is, can you go over existing carpet or VCT adhesive?
You can. The important thing to note when using any type of gypsum over those types of things is you want to make sure that the adhesive itself isn't water soluble. So what I mean by that is if you poured water onto it and let it sit for 10 minutes, that it doesn't turn into goop. But yes, I would say 95 to 97% of carpet tile or VCT adhesives you can pour over no problem with the Level Easy system.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Again, if there's any more questions, we'll wait a moment. So you want to put your question into the Q&A box on the left hand of your screen. In the meantime, if there's any other questions, we'll wait just a moment. There were a number of handouts that Heather had, so you can access them on the right hand of your screen. There are no other questions coming in, Heather.
Okay, I just wanted one more thing. If you do have any questions, subfloor preparation wise, moisture mitigation wise, I don't mind what part of the country you're from. My cell phone number is here on the screen, as well as my email address. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that just kind of come up, or if you just want to talk something through that's going on. It's always better to ask for some advice or help ahead of time than have the problem after the fact and then have to be asking for what could be done different. So whatever I can do to help you on the front end, I'm happy to do.
Heather, we have one more question that came in. And this question is, are your products for over concrete as well as gypsum?
Absolutely. So the premise of gypsum and concrete are that you can always put gypsum over concrete. Where people were having a lot of problems in the past was putting concrete over gypsum. So when gypsum goes down, it kind of lays on the floor and it doesn't have that tensile pull. So you can put gypsum over more gypsum, concrete, adhesives, VCTs, different things that you wouldn't normally put concrete over. So 100% yes, gypsum can go over everything.
Okay. We've got some more questions coming in, so that's great. The next question is, what are the RH limitations for level EZ?
So that's a great question. For the level EZ, you're going to be looking probably closer to, you don't really want to go much over 90 or 95. It's not a moisture resistant leveler. It's going to allow moisture to breathe through, but if you put a floor covering over it that has a limitation, you're going to end up with issues. That is a big issue in general with a lot of the different products out there. Is it's great that we're coming out with all these products that maybe don't require moisture limitations, or there's adhesives that work and different things like that. It's really important to know the limitations of those different products. So, I mean, there's some adhesives that will go up to 99. There's some that will only go up to 99 if it's new concrete. There's some levelers that don't have any moisture restriction, but that doesn't mean that they're stopping and blocking moisture from coming through. So that's one of those things too that I'm always happy to help people with. I mean, I have nothing against any other subfloor manufacturers. We all need to work together to elevate the craft. And the reality of it is that the more information you have, the less failures we have in the market. So, and that's a good thing. So if you've got, that's a long way of answering the question. So there is limitations. The limitations are going to be around 90 to 95. I would be a lot less worried about you putting ceramic tile over level EZ with a high moisture situation than if you were going to put in like a sheet good over level EZ with a moisture situation. So the MVP primer, you could install extraordinarily inexpensive. I don't know if I want to say exactly what the cost is because people don't like when you do that, but let's just say that your installation and product cost is going to be well under probably a dollar.
Okay. There are no more questions at this time. So if there are no more questions coming through in the Q&A box, then on behalf of FCICA, thank you, Heather, for presenting today's webinar.
Thanks for having me.
Sims may now navigate to the Submit Credit tab to receive credit. Please note you must be signed into the educational platform for this feature to work. If you have any issues, please let us know. So again, thank you so much, Heather, for presenting. This is the conclusion of the webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.